Hi my friend, this is me Djflorag, and this is my very first YouTube video sharing about my life history. If you haven't subscribed my channel yet, then please do subscribe my channel and ring the bell for more videos. Many of my friends, by looking at my social media pictures, they think that I'm having a very good life. I'm having a life of freedom. They think that I'm lucky enough to do whatever I want to do. They always see me having fun with friends, going clubs, parties, doing entertainments, traveling new places, and posting many glamorous pictures on social media. But to be honest, it's not exactly what they think it is, because I always wanted to show people what I only post on Instagram, but they don't know what I was going through behind my glamorous life. Honestly, I haven't shared my depression story to anyone except my best friend and family. I always wanted to make this video to share with you so that I can motivate you and help you to overcome your depression if you are depressed by any reasons. Also, I wanted to share you what exactly happened to me. Well, 5 years back, when I was 18, after I completed my A-level, I participated in Miss College in about 2015 with my best friend without telling my mom, because I thought if I convinced my mom that time, she would not allow me to take part in beauty pageants. Even I borrowed money from my best friend to pay for my training charges. Later on, my mom found, luckily she didn't say anything to me. Instead, she encouraged me to work hard for the competition. There were altogether 21 girls who were competing with each other for the title. I worked so hard for it. As a result, in grand finale, fortunately, I was crowned as Miss College Nepal 2015. I was so happy. My parents were so proud of me. Even my friends were happy for me. People gave me congratulations. Next day, when I woke up, I saw many people sending me a friend request. I was called from different agencies for modeling. I did many photo shoots, I played music videos, I worked as choreographer in 10 to 12 beauty pageants. I was called to do motivation speech in different beauty pageants. I got opportunities to do hosting in many events. I worked as a radio jockey on radio station for 2 years and a video jockey on television for 1 year. For me, 2015 and 2016 were lucky years for me, as I was very busy in learning new things and new skills. I didn't let opportunities to flow from my hand, so I tried to grab all opportunities as much as I could. I was living my dream and I was able to be independent. Sometimes I used to get so angry with the organizers who would not pay for my work. I remember I had a fight with one organizer for some issues. Sorry, I will not tell the name. But I told her that one day I will do great events and I will be more successful event organizer than you. Just wait and see. I was so driven by ego, so with that ego I decided to establish my own event management company. I talked with my best friend. After 2 months we collected money. I had some savings. I used that money to certify my event management company. At the end of 2016, my best friend and I organized a dance party, which was very successful. We got a huge profit from that event. We decided to do more and more events in future, thinking we would get more sponsors. we would meet people, and we would get more profits, and we would become entrepreneurs at a young age. Unexpectedly, my best friend, after a few months, she went to abroad for further studies. So I was left alone to handle my own event management company, but I didn't give up. By my own, I organized 4 events for 1 year continuously. It went into profits. Many people praised for my work, and they motivated me to do more events. I became so greedy, not only Pokhara, but also I wanted to do events in other parts of Nepal too. One day I decided to do events in Kathmandu as well. So, in pursuit of my dreams and aspirations, I convinced my mother to invest me in my next projects in Kathmandu. Without any no's, she believed me and she handed me 1 lakh cash with some expenses. I promised my mom that I would do successful events in Kathmandu as well, and I would join college and study hard as well. Next day, I went to Kathmandu by my own. Uh, it was completely different place for me because I didn't have any relatives there. Even I didn't have any friends there in Kathmandu that time. I was completely new in that place and I didn't know to do anything there. So I stayed in hotel until I could find a nice rented room where I could study properly. I was searching for a rented room, but I couldn't find any nice place because I was busy in writing my concept too for new projects. So I stayed in hotel for 4 months. One day, a friend she called me because she found me that I was in Kathmandu, and she called me to meet her. We met in one of the cafe. We had a talk, and she asked me why I moved in Kathmandu. I told her everything. She was also event organizer. I told her about my plans. She promised me to support me in my project. So with her help, I made a few photographers, models, coordinators, and we formed a team to do my projects. Christmas was running near, so I decided to organize Christmas fashion runway, my first event in Kathmandu that time, and money that my mother gave me, I invested all for the promotion of fashion runway. We auditioned for models. We gave trainings to models. We organized Christmas fashion runway. It was a successful event for the audience only, but for me, that event, I went into huge loss for the first time in my life. I couldn't do anything because I was huge in loss. I was totally shocked and I was totally broken. I couldn't expect that I was in loss. I even couldn't tell my family that I went into loss because I thought that if I told to my family, then they would not allow me to stay at Kathmandu. They would force me to come back to Pokhara and look after family business. But I didn't want it to do that because my dreams were another and family business was something another. I never gave up. I myself told that by my own I have to find solution. I didn't felt before, and I didn't had experience in failing events before. I didn't know what to do and how to overcome my losses. After that event, I was depressed. Even I couldn't face people and couldn't talk to people. For 1 month, I didn't went out of my room. I used to lock the door and stay in my room day and night every day for 1 month. I even didn't went out to talk with somebody or to have food by my own because I didn't have money that time. Whatever money was left for me, even that money I used to clear my debt. I didn't have a single penny in my pocket to buy food and drinks for me, but I was lucky. I was living at hotels where I used to get foods, though I didn't wanted to eat anything because I was in pain and I was only thinking how to overcome those losses. I used to lie on bed only thinking, and I got so negative thoughts in my mind. I even commit suicide. Whenever I received the calls, people used to threatened me and asked for their payment. I used to get so nervous by receiving their call, and I was so frustrated that even I was afraid to receive the calls from my family. Whenever my family used to call me, I used to say, "Alright, I'm fine. I'll go there." But I was telling lie to my family. I couldn't tell them what I was going through. I used to cry whole night, and sometimes photographer brothers and mother sisters they used to come to see me as if I was okay. And whenever they used to come, they would bought me some foods and drinks to have, but I didn't feel like to have them because didn't wanted to eat anything. I lost my appetite. I used to cry in front of them, and I feel very weak. I was looking so pitiful. They used to force me to have food, and I used to say no. And they told me that if you will not eat food, then you're gonna be weak. Then you can't do anything. They told me that I have to be strong. I have to get back. I have to forget all those incidents and come up with new ideas. And they used to encourage me. They used to motivate me. I was so thankful for them. And even some of them used to ask me to stay their home for a while until I get relief. I refused them and I insisted to stay at hotel alone. And one of the sister, she asked her mom to lend me money on interest to cover my losses, and her mother helped me by lending me 1 lakh cash on interest. I used that cash to cover my half losses by paying to a showstoppers, artist, and event venue. And the other half losses to whom I had to pay, I convinced them to give me some days. They were so kind that they gave me some days. I got relieved after that to some extent. Again, I started my another event. I was promoting, and training was going on. I needed few investors in my that event, so I asked some people to invest in my program. One investor, he invested 2 lakh on my program, but I was deceived by the other man. He asked a permission to use my company logo only as event manager in his program. He promised that he would use his profit to invest in my program. I believed him and let him to use my company logo. Later, I found that his event went close. He ran away from Kathmandu Valley. People to whom he had to pay, they called me and they used to threaten me by saying either I had to find that man or I had to pay for all his losses. It was a burden for me because on one side I had my own loans that I had to pay, and on top of that another obstacles came into my life. It was not my fault, but I had to pay for his losses too. They used to said that if I would not pay them, they would send me to jail and my company was at risk. There were no any choice, so I had to pay for all his losses. I convinced them to give me some time and pay for them. Again, I went into depression because of that. I couldn't focus on my event. So again, my second event in Kathmandu went lost. This time it wasn't a huge loss, so I thought that I would cover that losses easily. I made my mind thinking how to cover all my losses, and one day when I was having a coffee, in my mind a good concept came, so I decided to work on that concept. Also, I decided to ask help from my family. I came back to Pokhara, but I didn't say anything about losses and the things that happened to me in Kathmandu. I asked my mother to help me again in my new projects, which was going to be a huge events. When I was in Pokhara, I wrote concept about TV reality show, and I wanted to telecast that event episode wise on television. Without sleeping, I used to write proposal letter. I used to design post for promotion. I thought that this TV reality shows would be a grand event. If I do this event, then many sponsors will help me. I would get more investors, get more contestants, and I thought that I will get profits and I would cover my own losses. One day I asked my mother to invest me. She again believed me, and this time she gave me 2 lakh for my project. Next day I went to Kathmandu with a new energy to start my grand events. With my team, I did lots of promotion, going in different colleges and schools, and also I did promotion on social media. We distributed pamphlets to lots of students and sponsor proposal letters to many companies. Everyone liked about my new project, TV reality show, but some of the sponsors, they didn't believe me. They think that I would not be able to handle big projects, thinking that I was too young. I didn't give up, and I went to many television offices showing my concept to them. They also liked my concept very much, but I didn't have that budget to do that program. However, I didn't give up. I decided to use my own production team and do shooting, and whenever I get sponsors and investors, I would telecast on television. So I got few contestants and we started shooting our shows. Shooting was running smoothly, and in the middle of this show I had to select a 15 contestant. So for that I organized a grand fashion show. It was a great fashion show, again for the audience only. This time I couldn't believe that I was in loss about 6 lakhs, which was a huge loss for me. Even I didn't have that loss at my first event and second event, but this third time I went into huge loss. I went into loss because I didn't realize that I didn't have enough budget. I spent a lot of money on event venue, decorations, and fashion clothing. I was only focusing on how to attract people. I couldn't tell my family again. Because of great loss, I had to stop the show in the middle of the shooting. I didn't have any money left. to continue that. So I was looking for investors and sponsors, but I couldn't find any sponsor and investor. One day we had a meeting with all the contestants, top 15. I told them everything about the problems and why I would not be able to continue our show. They understand me, and I promised them whenever I would get more investors and sponsors, again we would start our shooting. Next day I came back to Pokhara. I was depressed. I couldn't do anything in Kathmandu. There were no anyone to support me, so my examination was near. Even I couldn't focus on my studies, so I got failed in exam in one subject, accounts. Then I had to drop out of my college because I didn't had any money. My mother used to send for my study and expenses. Use that money to pay all my debt. So I had to drop out of my college. After a few months, I came back to Pokhara. I couldn't tell my family anything about the losses because I thought if I would tell them, then I would be kicked out from my home and there would be no place for me to live. I kept my pain inside, and at home I pretend as if I didn't have any pain. I used to smile whenever I used to talk with friends, and whenever I had gatherings at family, I used to have fun with them. But inside I was in deep pain. Every night I used to cry a lot. 2019 was very unlucky for me because I went into huge loss. Altogether I went lost around 10 lakhs. It was a big amount for me, you know. In first event I went lost around 2 lakhs, and in second event I went lost around 1 lakh, and on third event I went lost around 6 lakhs. Can you imagine? I went into huge loss. It's not a small amount for me because at the age of 20 I had a debt of amount rupees 10 lakhs. I heard about my losses from family for 2 months, and those time I used to get calls from participants. They used to ask me for their refunds. Had to refund their training charges, and also there were previous loans that I had to pay it myself. After a few months, I worked in Coco Beach restaurant as event manager and marketing manager to earn some money so that I could pay for my debt. While I was working at Coco Beach, monthly income I used to send to people to whom I had to pay in Kathmandu. Unfortunately, one day some people came to my home and met my mother, father, asked for their money back, and told my parents that I had to pay for them. From that day, all the family members, they knew that I made a huge trouble for them. My father didn't even talk with me, and my mother used to scold me a lot and asked me how I did it and why I did it, and she didn't allow me to go anywhere, and she scolded me for hiding those incidents. And they told me to say everything that happened in Kathmandu, and I shared everything to my family, that what happened to me and what I did in Kathmandu. Everything I shared with my family, and even I got a scold from my sister who were in Australia. They called me, and my mother was telling them everything about those incidents. I'm crying. And from that day I went into depression again. From that day, my biggest fear was to face people. I couldn't even face my family, friends, nor any people. Whole day and night, I used to lock my room and I used to lie on bed thinking how to pay my loans. There were lots of negative thoughts came into my mind. Even I tried to commit suicide, but I was not that strong to do suicide. I felt myself very low. I felt myself very guilty on doing lots of mistakes and becoming a failure in life. I couldn't sleep at night and I couldn't smile at anyone. My happiness were gone. Even I couldn't go out with friends. And one day I was called for managing Christmas fashion show in a Voodoo club at Djflorag Grand Hotel. It was my bad luck day. I got an accident from a scooter while going to take models of fashion clothes. I was lucky my life saved, but got injured in my legs. I was sent to hospital and I called my mother and brother. They came to hospital to see me and I got plastered and doctor told me not to go anywhere, so I stayed in the room for 2 months until my leg was back to normal. Until I was doing bed rest, my mother didn't say anything to me. She didn't scold me. After a few months, my leg was back to normal. I was able to work properly. I asked my mother to help me to overcome those losses. And I told my mother that I was depressed and I said sorry to my family for doing big mistakes. And I went to hospital for the checkup for depression and anxiety, and doctor gave me anxiety medicine for 1 month. I took that medicine for 1 month, and also doctor recommended me not to use any social media and not to stay alone by myself. To deal with my depression and anxiety, I used to go to my best friend personal house. She used to motivate me. She used to make me laugh. I shared her everything about those incidents, and after a few days my mother insisted to help me, but in one condition: if I would join college again, if I would stop to do event, and if I would look after family business, then only she would cover all my losses. I had to decide what to do and what not to do. Even I used to share with my brothers and sisters, and brother advised me to start doing DJing in clubs so that I could not get any nightmares. I couldn't sleep at night, so I started DJing in club, and I told my mother that I would join college again and study hard. I would not do any events further and ask for help. Then only my parents helped me to cover my half of the losses. Even my family couldn't clear all my losses at one time, because in 2019 my mother invested for my brother and sisters for the process of studying in Australia. So my mother couldn't help me to clear all the debt, but somehow she cleared my half of the loans. I didn't want it to hamper my brother and sisters' future, so I worked myself to pay my rest of the loans. Even my 2 sisters who lived in Australia, they helped me by sending some money every month to pay for my debt. I'm lucky that I got a very supportive family, and I'm so thankful for my family that in the hard time they were the one who supported me, and still they are supporting me to clear my debt. I'm still working as employee. I use that money to pay for my debt. Little by little, I'm paying money to people to whom I had to pay. In 2019 February 2, my brother, sister, father, mother, four of them, they got a visa from Australia. They went to Australia for 2 months. It was my responsibility to look after family and even family business. I didn't get rid of my depression. I used to think every day about my past event, and I would make myself very low, thinking I would not be able to do anything in the future. My life had been end. I wasn't stronger than before. To overcome my depression, I used to keep my mobile phone away from me. I didn't use social media for 2 months, and I used to visit new places and hang out with friends. I used to go party and club to make myself relieve. I listened music. I started doing paintings and learning books to divert my mind so that I could not have negative thoughts on my mind. While sleeping, I used to listen to a motivation speech and watch motivation videos on YouTube. And morning, I used to do meditation. After a few months, I got relieved from my depression, and I overcome from my depression, and I was able to get back. I became more stronger than before. I was able to be happy again. I was able to start my new journey of my life. Though my past was very painful, but I will never give up. I will do many events in coming futures. Now I'm taking some rest. I'm not doing any events for 5 years. After I earn a lot of money, then I would again start my own big projects, and I'll give many platforms to many people. Well, friends, that was my life story about depression. At the end, I want to tell you that please do not make yourself low. If you have got depressed by any reasons, then you can overcome your depression, but please don't commit suicide. It's not a great option. You can heal, and every pain is temporary. Everything happened for reasons. Whenever you are in depressed, don't feel yourself low. Don't over to think about your life. Eat healthy food, do regular exercise, do meditation, read new books, watch motivational videos, do paintings, or meet new people. Share your things to people whom you trust. I hope you got motivated by my story. If you want to know more about me and my stories of life and anything about my events in future, then please subscribe my channel for more videos and help other people to deal with their depression by sharing this video. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, take care, and see you on next video.